TN, Eleanor, and Jair. Yes.
Not
Got
jail.
Rufino Jair. Hello, good morning, and welcome to this very special discussion themes themed empowering the youth action on climate change in small island developing states. And I have a very esteemed panel joining me here this morning. My name is Tahir Bulbulia, and I'm your moderator for today's session. Next to me is, as I said, a very esteemed panel. We have Minister Senator Dr. Chantal Munro Knight, who is Minister with responsibility for culture in Barbados, and she does the reports on the SDGs as well in Barbados. And we also have Ms. Khadija Stewart, who is the founder of Eco Vibes Environmental Creatives from Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean as well. We also have Tien Taibo, who is from the Pacific. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. And she is project assistant for an FAO project in Kiribati. And then we also have James, who will be joining us a little later on. And then we have Rufino Jair Robert Varia from Fiji. And also, last but by no means least, the UNICEF representative, Eleanor Gyati, who is from the Climate Innovation Lead at UNICEF Office of Innovation. So thank you guys for joining. And we also want to thank Ashley Lashley for coordinating this panel discussion. And we want to welcome each and every one of you to the Barbados Pavilion, which has been here since the launch of COP this year. And we have really been welcoming everyone to this pavilion, Marketing Barbados' Life, our Roofs to Reefs program, and naturally the Bridgetown Initiative, which everyone would know about. But we'll jump straight into the discussion now, and I will start with Minister Munro Knight. Minister, Barbados has been a lead, especially among small island developing states, calling for changes within the climate structure, climate financing. But the public, just speak to the public on some of the um, stuff Barbados has done to help, the Barbados government has done to help within the climate crisis.
Okay. Thank you very much, Tahir, and good morning to all of the other panelists. I spent much of my formative years in the youth sector, leading youth movements and dealing with climate change. So I feel, it takes me back, to those years. So I feel very invigorated, and thanks to Ashley Lashley, the foundation, for the very kind invitation. So a couple of things to hear as I answer your question. And first, perhaps, to start with the why, right? So what motivates Barbados as a small island developing state? 166 square miles, a population of, just about 260, to be at the forefront, driving innovation, developing homegrown initiatives that respond to the urgent climate crisis that we have. And that's the big thing of the why. So 2 days ago, we would have heard in the news that Earth touched the 2-degree temperature anomaly twice within the last few weeks alone. Barbados, that has never had an earthquake, within the last 3 weeks have had 2 tremors. In 2021, we suffered a hurricane, a freak storm, ashfall. We have coastal erosion that is driving fishing communities, to a loss of their livelihoods. We face threat of flooding. We have a hospital, a major, our biggest hospital, that sits right near the coast. Yeah. And just within the last few weeks, just before coming here, we're facing flooding, out of season flooding, that is driving food shortages. and I think that's important to understand the why. And that why is that a small island state, we are on the very front line of the climate crisis. And being on the front line of the climate crisis also means a number of different things for us in terms of the response to that climate crisis and our posture. So that posture is that we use spaces like the COP to be able to advocate in the international stage for changes, structural and systemic changes into how, one, we're inserted into the global economy, into galvanizing partnerships for change. But at the same time as we do that, as Barbados, we also have to innovate on our own as well for our people. So that we value the spaces, we value the partnerships which are important, but we are also not prepared to sit back and have others develop solutions for us. And that is why to hear, as you say, even in this pavilion, we are showcasing our homegrown strategies in terms of the Roof to Reach program, which is really a best practice that provides an overarching, coherent, whole of government frame for how we develop resilience, how we build resilience, and how we build out our programs. And that is important because, again, as a small and developing state with limited resources, building a coherent platform of the whole of government that allows us to tackle the legislative, regulatory, and policy things that we need to do is important for us. It is why we have the Bridgestone Initiative, because we recognize that we have a big funding gap, a tremendous funding gap, and that we need to be able to galvanize innovative financing mechanisms in order to be able to do so. And we've galvanized partnerships, again, around the Bridgestone Initiative, but again, recognizing that we need, again, a number of different financing mechanisms at different levels, but also as well to be able to speak frontally to the issue of governance as well to here. So that's a lot to say, but like I said, the why as a small and development state is important for us. The two, the importance of homegrown solutions, again, and the three, the importance of innovation and development of those solutions.
Thank you for that. And the why is ever so important. And that's why we'll now jump to Khadija, and thank you for giving an overview of the Barbadian context. Khadija, you work in the regional context in the Caribbean. What are some of the challenges in the region we face, the Caribbean region that we face? What are some of the solutions you can see being put forward? Yes.
There we go. Um, yeah, good morning, everybody. I was listening to you just list out some of the impacts of climate change, and all I could think about is that, on average, we experience temperatures of like between 28 to 32 degrees Celsius. But for the past month, 2 months ago, Trinidad experienced 41 degrees Celsius. And I remember everybody was just like, well, what is happening? Like, Trinidad is on fire. Like, people were just running around, and we was like, guys, this is climate change. Like, this is what we've been preaching about. This is why it's so important for us to take action to, really get the information out there, etc. And, you asked me about working in the Caribbean as a whole and some of the challenges we face, and I could talk from a youth perspective more than anything else. And one of the biggest things we face is one, understanding that we do have a voice and we can't speak up. And I say that because, in Trinidad, for example, we have a saying that children must be seen and not heard. Or you ask to excuse yourself from the room because, quote unquote, big people talking. And, from since then, culturally, you learn to silence yourself. You learn to have all these amazing ideas, want to contribute to the solution, to the conversation, but deep down inside, you feel like you can't. Or you simply don't have a seat at the table, you don't have access to information, you don't have funding, and the list goes on when it comes to barriers young people face. But I feel like now more than anything else, we're seeing people create spaces for youth, we're seeing people, open up platforms, provide funding, grant programs, etc., and really build capacity for young people to go out there and develop some of these solutions that we know that we can do and that we really want to do, because at the end of the day, we would love to see our future, and we would love for our children to also experience that. I know one thing that really drives me is the fact that I would never want my child or my grandchild to come up to me and be like, oh, could you tell me a story about the beach? Could you tell me what that was like? Because now it's completely inaccessible because it's drowning in pollution, all the coral reefs are gone, etc. Now the memories just live within my head, and being from the Caribbean is something that they could never experience. And that to me is just completely tragic. And I use storytelling and really, like I said, building capacity is something that I work 24/7 on to really empower young people to use their voice to speak up and, like I mentioned, keep pushing solutions regionally.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Khadija. And absolutely, solutions are critical. We all know the challenges that we face, but we really need to become more solution focused and solution oriented. And this is a good time to jump to Eleanor now. Eleonora now. And you work in the climate innovation space, and I know you work with many younger people, giving opportunities for them to grow and build their innovations. Speak to some of the amazing innovations that young people are coming up with, but also what are the needs of some of these young people, and what can we do as governmental organizations, NGOs, and support groups to support and give more opportunities for these young people to grow?
Yeah, thank you. So UNICEF, for the first time, right now at COP28 has launched a global climate change action plan, really recognizing that children's rights needs to be put at the heart of everything we do in climate. And in that action plan, innovation plays a really pivotal role as an accelerator, because obviously we know that on the ground, the crisis is progressing so fast that unless we invest heavily in innovation, we are definitely not going to see the change that we want to see fast enough. This year, UNICEF has analyzed the past 10 years of funding from the top 5 multilateral climate funds, and has seen that only 0.8% of those funds in the last 10 years has gone to young entrepreneurs that are developing really pivotal solutions to tackle climate change in their own country. And we're here at COP really negotiating for that to change. It's that percentage of 0.8 must increase significantly. In the private sector as well, despite the trillions of dollars being available in the SDG markets, a very, very little percentage of that funding is going to climate innovators, and especially climate innovators in the global south that are working on solutions that are so important. So our mission as the Office of Innovation is really to support with mentoring as well as with funding innovators and countries that are working on the front line. We recently launched an initiative called Innovation 30 to connect all the 156 UNICEF country offices with leading accelerators of innovative solutions, because as we were just discussing before the panel, although there are millions of young people with brilliant ideas, it's actually really tough to create a scalable, sustainable, profitable business that can tackle at scale nationally as well as regionally the effect of climate change. So we have partnered with 13 climate accelerators. We are partnering with major philanthropic funding organizations to be able to support a global pipeline of those businesses. And one really good example is in the region is a young innovator from St. Kitts that has been working on developing a sustainable business to tackle the huge issue of sargassum that I'm sure is also a key problem in Barbados. So he has been, a lot of countries are trying to transform sargassum in fertilizer, but it's actually really hard to make that into a profitable business. So we're supporting innovators like him to create a business model that can withstand the difficult financial circumstances in the country, but we're also partnering him with leading scientists in universities so that his fertilizers can be the top-notch fertilizer to increase the biodiversity in the islands, as well as to be a product that can be sold on the regional markets. So that is, in a nutshell, what UNICEF is here to negotiate and what we stand for. Thanks.
Thank you. And financing is absolutely critical. And I love the point that you mentioned on upskilling and developing these talents and these mindsets for growth. Because oftentimes small island developing states are put on the back burner, and a lot of people don't believe that we have some of the most innovative products and the most creative people to drive these products and services, but the challenge of upscaling is often put in front of us. So it's a good segue now to TN now. And your work is often in marine and the oceans. How can we encourage more younger persons to become involved in advocating for the health of our ocean and the protection of our ocean space and our marine?
Thank you for the question. As a youth coming from the Pacific with the experience that I have right now while working with youths there, and I believe some of the strategies that could work is, first of all, is to start talking and maintaining awareness to youth, children in schools, at home, and consider other different settings, could be informal or formal, through storytelling, as already mentioned, to develop and maintain their interest in ocean conservation. Just constantly telling the children, the youth, first the why, what, who, and how in simple terms, because we acknowledge that not all of us, especially youths in the vulnerable group, can comprehend fully, especially the science behind it. And the importance, just telling them the importance, why we want to preserve, keep advocating for the health of our oceans as youths, as ocean ambassadors from big ocean states. And then the second one would be having local youths to take the lead in initiatives and activities related to marine conservation. In Kiribati, and we have small youth groups that are faith-based, and it's always easy to have other youths actively participate in what's going on. Especially when one of the youths in the group is assigned a task and is taking the lead. And the other youths in the group just automatically support the youth leader, knowing that they're on the same level, and it also becomes an inspiration for most of them. And then last but not the least is, as youth leaders in the ocean conservation, we want to be role models, and pulling in more youths to do what you do is by walking the talk. So awareing youths about the importance of ocean conservation is the first step. But then doing more practical work, so other youths see what we're doing. I believe it would also encourage other, especially youths from the Pacific or in small island developing states, to participate in meaningful actions that are ocean-based solutions to the issues we are facing. And also, because we are in this social media era, the contents that we share on our different social media handles, for example, in Kiribati, we use a lot of youths use Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and these are some of the main social media handles. And the content, we ensuring that we post eye-catching content about the work we do in the ocean conservation space can help youths become more curious about the work we do, and it'll pull them it'll kind of like encourage them to also want to do what we're doing, especially in ocean conservation. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, and we have to really meet young people where they're at. And I really like the creative idea of using social media a lot more to push the agenda, what we're really trying to achieve. Rufina, I'll jump to you now. And crowd, we will have a segment for question and answer, so you can hold your questions and comments till the end. And we really want you to ask some questions as well to this esteemed panel. Rufina, you're from an indigenous community. Straight and plain, how can we include the indigenous communities more as part of our advocacy? And what are some of the challenges you face and some solutions that perhaps we can address as we move forward in this discussion?
Okay, Nisambula Vinaka, Noaya Emory, good morning to you all. Thank you, moderator, and my fellow panelists for the very insightful sharing that you've given all of us. Today is about youth and children, so I will be speaking a bit more strongly on this particular topic. And I want to start by saying that, the climate crisis in SIDS has created horrid realities for indigenous and youth.